United stand, this is it. We are live, we're very early in the UK because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has completed his press conference. It took place at about 6 AM UK time, which is, I don't know what time that is in Australia, but that's where he did it. And look, I'm going to start off and say, for me, the interpretation of what I've just watched Ole say, I think Paul Pogba's leaving Manchester United. I'm very surprised by that because I really did think there would be more conviction in the fact that he was going to stay. I think that Ole played a straight bat. Obviously, we're training on a cricket ground over there, but it wasn't as firm as I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be Paul Pogba. I'm confident he's going to be a United player next season. There wasn't a statement like that about Pogba. He spoke about a lot of things, and to be honest with you, I'm going to say straight away, I found that press conference from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer very positive. Now, that for me, I'm not really a morning person, although I do look very good considering I've only just been up for about an hour. But I'm not normally a morning person, so I thought I'd wake up and be more and take things a little bit more moody. But I haven't taken that moody at all. I thought that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the manager of Manchester United, and there's certain things he's got to say. He didn't close the door off to transfers. He didn't close the door off to sales. He acknowledged a lot of the fans' issues about ruthlessness and change. There was one thing he said about the fans I really disagreed with, which I thought was very dangerous, which we'll go on to in a minute. But in relation to Paul Pogba and Romelu Lukaku, I think both will leave Manchester United, and because I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was as sure in what he was saying as I thought he was going to be. He was asked very, very good questions, which we'll go into in a moment, but I really thought I'd be saying Pogba to stay this morning, and I had to change the title to Pogba to go, because I think Pogba will leave Manchester United. I do not think there was anywhere near, and watch it back yourself, but let's just go through it. He was asked direct questions about Paul Pogba, about Mino Raiola's quotes, and he said that, I'm going to have to get this piece of paper here because my eyes aren't that good this morning. He said there's lots of talks, ins and outs, but it's business as usual. I've spoke to Paul, I've spoke to Rom, I've spoke to Rashi. We've got no bids for any of our players at the moment. It feels a little bit like there's a Pogba media agenda. He's got a heart of gold. And then one of the journalists, it was Neil Custis from The Sun, said, well, you know, it's not a heart of gold when it's not a media agenda, when his agent is coming out and saying that he wants to leave. There was mention of ruthlessness last year and players having to sacrifice to be here, be a Manchester United player. And Ole said, look, he's got 3 years left on his contract. Pogba's never been an issue. But as I said, we've had no bids. It was just those lines that really struck home, that there's been no bids. Pogba has been professional. He was also asked about, what about these players that want to leave Manchester United? How do you deal with those? Which I think we can throw Lukaku in. And he said, as long as they are being professional in a Manchester United shirt, then for me, that's the best situation, isn't it? Which is correct. You know, Lukaku has been professional, Pogba has been professional, but there's no, like I say, strong, assured conviction that Pogba's going to stay here. It's about there's been no bids yet, which we know there's not been any bids. Real Madrid haven't bid for him, Juventus haven't bid for him yet, and that's what Ole's saying. But it doesn't, to me, sound like either of those two players, especially Pogba, will stay at United. We're already talking about their professional attitude in training. He's never been an issue for me. But acknowledgement of the fact that Raiola's... I mean, look, if he thought Pogba was going to stay, when he was asked about Mino Raiola's comments and Paul Pogba's comments, he would come out and say, it's a load of rubbish. Paul Pogba's a big part of the plans. There was no statement that Paul... late last night we were hearing that Manchester United are going to get Paul Pogba to stay for another year. They're going to let him go next year, because we've also heard that they're going to try and beg Pogba to stay and make him be part of the future. There was none of that. There was none of Paul Pogba's a part of the future of Manchester United. We're going to build a team around him. There was none of that. It was basically... You know what it was? I think it was a holding interview, really. It was about, let's see what the situation is next week. Let's see what it is in 2 weeks' time. There was no conviction in that Paul Pogba would stay here. It was really about, no bids have been made yet. Everyone's being professional. On the media agenda against Paul Pogba, he said there's a bit of a media agenda, and he mentioned the Lingard and Pogba thing being interpreted as something it wasn't, when it was just two lads having banter. What did we say about that, though? Like, who put the clip out? Manchester United Football Club put that clip out of Pogba and Lingard. And to be honest with you, I said at the time it looked like a couple of lads having a bit of banter, and it was proven to be that. Some people went the other way and said it looked like they're having an argument. Who put the clip out? Who edited the clip? I mean, I'm sorry, Ole needs to direct that annoyance at Manchester United social media, because they put the clip out. It wasn't off someone's phone. It wasn't off the Sun or the Times or anyone like that. It was from Manchester United Football Club. They put that out and left it open to interpretation. I interpreted it was just two players having a laugh. Some people interpreted they were having a fight. That's not a media agenda when the club's driving that media agenda on that particular article. So I disagreed. I don't disagree with Ollie. I think he was very annoyed that that clip went out, but he needs to look at the football club themselves for putting that out. Don't know why they did. What's an acceptable achievement with this squad, says SR. Love the show, Mark, and I'm watching in Australia, says Hago Sham. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. Bottom right hand corner, lots and lots going on with the United stand. Make sure you subscribe. We're on that road to 500,000 subscribers. Flex is out in Australia. We'll have a video up from him, his third vlog today. Interesting to see. I know he's going to training one of the days as well, so lots going on. But yeah, lots to talk about. So Pogba, to me, my interpretation of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer today is that Pogba will leave Manchester United. Whether that makes you happy or not, personally, he wants to leave. Someone's just got to... And Ollie's right. No one's made a bid yet. If they make the bid, then he will go. So there you go. I think he's going to go. I think Lukaku will go. Positive, De Gea contract. What did I say to you a few weeks ago? Pogba's going to go. De Gea will stay. And a lot of people went into this summer saying Pogba will stay, De Gea will go. He spoke about the contract. He said positives about the contract. We're really lucky to have De Gea here. I think De Gea will sign a new contract. Alexis Sanchez back in 3 weeks apparently. I don't know whether we're going to get rid of him, to be honest with you. I got a feeling we won't sign anyone else until we sell, says Rayu20. Well, that's what a lot of people are here for. So let's talk about what he said about transfers. Let me get these quotes right. So he said, he was asked directly, I can't remember whether it was Simon Stone. It might have been Simon Stone, the BBC journalist, who said, after the Barcelona game last year where we got beat, you were ruthless and said that you needed to be ruthless in improving the squad. Where is it? Some fans feel like it's the same as before. Ollie acknowledged that and said, look, I understand that, but business in football is not a quick fix. Players, we've got some fantastic players here already, loads of players that I trust, and we've made 2 great buys. So very positive about this squad. The trust thing, he said, I've got lots of players I trust. He didn't say I trust all of them, so that's absolutely fine. I personally, as a Manchester United fan, don't trust that squad, and I think that's based up not on Ollie's time. Ollie, I think there was a statement from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which I'm going to come to in a minute, about the fans, which I didn't agree with, but I don't trust those set of players at the moment, and a lot of them I don't think I'll ever trust. And hopefully we'll remove some of those players from the squad. But it's not about the last couple of months under Ollie. Ollie doesn't need to take that all on himself when fans are not happy with them players. It's not just because of Ollie. This goes back to Mourinho, and in some cases it goes back as far as Van Gaal. I think some of these players just aren't United players. Welcome to Hago Sham. So if he says he trusts those players, I don't trust those players. But if he trusts some of them, then some of them I do trust as well. So it's hard to interpret what Ollie's saying there. But, business is not a quick fix. Well, yeah, we went into this transfer window knowing we needed a whole new team. Never expected him to sign a whole new team, but we do need players to come in this summer. He said that on players, we're still in the market to do business. We're patient, and we're happy with that being patient, but we won't overpay on players. So that's your update. We're still in the market to do business, which I've said all along. I expect us to bring 2 more players in minimum. Hopefully those players, as I've said, will be Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes, and maybe we'll get some more in. So I do think we're going to do business. As I said last night, I'm just frustrated and confused as to why we won't get that business done. But maybe you get something from Ollie there. We're patient and we won't overpay. And I think that's what's happening with United, isn't it? The flip side of that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer becomes irrelevant on that statement because he's just feeding out what the club are saying, because he basically is a puppet to the board. And I'd say that in the nicest possible sense. Mourinho was a puppet last year, and he's one of the greatest managers there's ever been. Sir Alex Ferguson was a puppet to the board because he had to come out and say there's no value in the market because they wouldn't give him the players. The manager, their boss, is the board, and the board are the people who are in charge of transfers. So when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer comes out and says we won't overpay, it's not your decision, Ollie. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got asked, like, right, you can have Harry Maguire for 75 million, would you take bit, would you take the deal? Ollie's going to say yeah, but the board might say, well, we're not going to pay 75, we'll only go up to 70, so we're not going to get the player. Ollie's going to go, well, come on, 5 million. That's Ollie's stance is going to be the same as ours. So this overpay thing is coming from the board, and we've seen this time and time again. And where it leaves me a little bit nervous is, as I've said before, Perisic, £5 million off. We didn't pay it, we didn't get the player. Sandro didn't get the player. We've done it numerous times with this board where we won't overpay, so we won't buy the player. And that is the danger. This we won't overpay, does that mean we're going to negotiate a deal that suits us, or we just won't pay for the player that we actually want? And to be honest with you, I don't really like that statement. I don't like we won't overpay. We're patient and we won't overpay. To me, that's a bollocks statement that is not coming from Ollie, it's coming from higher up. He's got to say that. He's got to be positive. He's the Manchester United manager. He's got to justify why he hasn't got the players he's got. We won't overpay, we're being patient. But I'm not interested in that statement. We see throughout the season, when they're delivering to shareholders, what great revenue streams Manchester United have got. What record-breaking profit levels Manchester United have got. And then we come to transfer windows and we won't overpay. The bottom line is with this, we won't overpay because we've got shareholders and owners who want to take profit from the club. As a football fan of Manchester United, we won't overpay doesn't make me feel any sense of pride, achievement or understanding, because we won't overpay means we won't overpay by 5 million, because that 5 million could be going to our shareholders and our profits to our owners. We should pay what it takes to get Manchester United back to where we need to be. We won't overpay doesn't get us the players we want. We won't overpay doesn't mean anything to me as a Manchester United fan, because we won't overpay just totally emphasises that we are Manchester United, the bank of Manchester United, the bank of the Glazers, whatever you want to call it. We won't overpay doesn't make any sense. Do you think realistically clabs that are trying to get back from the brink, like Real Madrid and Barcelona, do you think they really concern themselves about overpaying? Do you think did they overpay for Eden Hazard £80 million when he's only got 1 year left on his contract? They could have waited for a year and got him for free. They probably have overpaid in the market. Of course, Eden Hazard's worth 200 million, 150 million if he's got 4 or 5 years left on his contract. But with 1 year left on his contract, they've overpaid at 80 million, I think. 1 year left. Has it bothered them overpaying? No, because at the end of the day, they've got Eden Hazard doing keepy-ups at the Bernabeu in a Real Madrid shirt. So the overpaying patience thing, I think we're meant to think, oh, it's fine. It still isn't fine. These players should have been provided to our manager a long time ago, certainly over a week ago. And we're sat here whilst we're on pre-season, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is talking about we're ready to bounce back. It's been a pre-season of encouragement already, but he hasn't got the players. He hasn't got his players. Welcome to Junaid Hussain. Welcome to Hago Sham, the latest members of the United Stand Members Club. I don't think he's a puppet. I think his interview was very, very positive. But on the transfers, I don't agree with the overpay and the patience thing, because what does that mean to us as fans? Are we meant to sit there and go, it's fine, we're going to make signings, we're just not going to overpay, and be proud of that? We're almost becoming sheep ourselves to the statements that come out of the club. Well, we should be patient. Why should we overpay, Mark? But do you benefit from United saving £5 million? Bollocks. No. The people who benefit are the people who are treating us like a bank in the first place. Which brings me on to something Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did ask. He was asked about the fans, and he said, I understand the passion from the fans totally, and that they want to be successful, but he said sometimes the loudest fans are not always the greatest fans. When I talk to fans, they're positive and they want to see us win again. I think that statement's very interesting, where he says sometimes the loudest fans are not always the greatest fans. I mean, to be talking about who's a good fan and who's a bad fan as a Manchester United manager, I think straight away, as soon as he said it, I thought if Mourinho or Moyes or Van Gaal had said that, he would be hung out to dry for saying that, because you're basically playing into the top red thing, which obviously I don't agree with, where you've got some fans who are a better fan of the club than others. So basically, to say that some fans who are loud are not the greatest fans, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about those fans who are very vocal about the Glazers out, who've tried to get, they've got Glazers out trending on Twitter? They've tried to start protest march. Are those fans not the greatest fans because they're loud? They're being loud about negativity at the club. They're not the greatest fans. You could flip it the other way and say the loudest fans are the bravest fans because they're standing up to things that are wrong with this football club. And when you look at that, we're 6th in the league. We're in the Europa League. We've bought badly over the last 6 years. We've recruited managers badly over the last 6 years. We're slow in another transfer window. The manager, who everyone backs, is not getting the support he should have yet. What if people are vocal about that? Why are they not a good fan? I don't agree with that. I really don't agree with that. I thought that statement. Where's that statement come from, and what are you trying to achieve by that? You know, I just don't buy into the fact that any fan is a bad fan if they love the football club. And as Ollie says, they want us to be successful. Some people who are very vocal are being vocal because they're brave. You know, I would argue that those people who say nothing and just go everything's fine, I mean, are they actually engaged in what's going on at their football club? Because it's not fine. Whatever your issue is with Manchester United, whether it's the purchase of the club by the Glazers, whether it's the bad recruitment, whether it's the poor finish to the season, if you're sat there saying everything's fine, I'm sorry, I think you're absolutely naive. It's not fine. On the pitch, it's not fine. At board level, it's not fine, and this rebuild is not fine at the moment. So, if you're vocal about that, you're not one of the greatest fans of Manchester United. I don't get what that statement's all about, to be honest. I really don't. But everybody wants positivity at Manchester United. But sometimes you've got to shout and get that positivity. You've got to make the club realise that this isn't acceptable. And if they don't, the fans shouldn't have to do that anyway. If they don't realise that this isn't acceptable. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is one of Manchester United's biggest fans. He has to be a mouthpiece for the club because he's the manager and he's got to be positive and it's his neck on the line. But he knows deep down that the fans who are vocal are right. He knows it. He knows that ownership structure at that club isn't ideal, and he knows that the recruitment of this summer has not been ideal, and he knows over the last 6 years it's not been very good. Otherwise he wouldn't be sat in the Manchester United's job. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got to acknowledge that the opportunity he's been given is because of the incompetence of this board over the last 6 years and their poor recruitment of managers and players. So Ollie's benefiting from it. I just think it's very dangerous when you start saying lines like, some of the loudest fans are not the greatest fans. You should never criticise your fans. And I don't know whether it's a bad interpretation of English or what, but most fans I know, like myself, are 100% behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and want him to succeed. And I felt that his interview today was as good as it could be. I thought it was positive. You know what? He didn't come out and say Pogba was going to stay because I think he knows deep down that's not a certainty. And he did say that with regards to players who don't want to be here, as long as they're professional, that's all we can ask for at the moment. And we've got a good squad anyway, but it's got to be more robust. We had a good run of 3 months last season where we won a lot of games in a row, but we fell away at the end of the season. This season, they've got to be more robust, which is right. A lot of what he said is right. People say no Premier League in 3 years, more like 10 years plus, says Killalachi Gaming. Make sure you're smashing a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Bottom right-hand comment. Common denominator over the last 6 years, says George Sucker, is Ed Woodward. I mean, some of the positive things he also spoke about, Mason Greenwood will play more games. He said, look, if you saw him in training yesterday, banged in 3 goals from the 3 chances against Cardiff. He missed a load of chances, but he will be more involved. He's grown more over the summer. We've spoke about that. De Gea, Alexis Sanchez, still in the market to do business. We've just got to be patient. We won't overpay. Bouncing back. Who wants to play for the... Yep. He also said, this is a very important statement as well, he said, when the league starts, we'll have a good team that wants to play for this club. So he's talking about those effort levels again. Scott Cook, do they really not realise not investing hurts the brand? No, I don't think they do. I think about, we can't. I've got, as I said, my feeling with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's interview today, it was a very positive interview. I know today we're going to see a lot of people reacting to it negatively and saying it was a negative interview, but the way I read it, Pogba and Lukaku will go if somebody puts the bid in. We are trying to sign players, but we are negotiating again because that's what we do. We won't pay. We won't just go and get a deal done. A lot of people say, why don't Manchester United get deals done quickly? It's because the way we are run as a football club, we are a business and every pound earns interest in our bank. So every pound needs to be accounted for. We won't just roll up to Sporting Lisbon and say, what do you want? 70 million. Right, we'll give you 60. Let's get it done quick. We will roll up to Sporting Lisbon and go, right, we'll give you 35 and we'll negotiate for the next 4 years. That is what, I know I'm exaggerating there, but United negotiate to death everything, because every pound that Woodward saves, he probably gets as a bonus himself or something. We are not a football club, we are a bank, and that's why everything takes so long, and that's why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to come out with lines like, we're patient, we won't overpay. Because the reality is, if we were serious about this rebuild at board level, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have most of his signings already over with him in Australia, building his team. The reality is, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is maybe 2-3 players short of his best 11 for Chelsea. He hasn't even got those players yet. So what is he doing out in Australia on the other side of the world? He's coaching a team that's not going to be his team. Pogba and Lukaku probably not going to be there. 2 or 3 signings he needs in key positions, centre-back, midfield, not even there. So ultimately, does this pre-season tour do a lot for United? Well, you've got to do it because you need to get the players fit, etc. But with an eye on next season, I would say he's nowhere near what his best team is because the business has not been done. Shyam Syunda Singh says, I can't have patience when the club doesn't care. Let's take some of your comments on it, actually. Woodward being a banker doesn't help, says Michael Jones. Sally Devil Red says, and how long can the club keep turning over profit with poor results on the pitch? And Dargo says, I'm not reading that, Dargo, because you actually don't make any sense, and there's no point in putting me reading a statement like that on the channel. Joseph Spateri says, we have to overpay to get the best because we have very little else to offer while we don't overpay. The best players are going to our rivals, and we're then linked with Longstaff, Ben Yedder and co. I think that statement there from Joseph is absolutely spot on. I hadn't even thought of it myself like that. We are a club on our knees. We're in the Europa League, and we're 6th. You've got to overpay. You're right. Joseph's right. If you want to bring players to Manchester United at the moment, you've got to overpay a little bit. We won't overpay, we're Manchester United. You're living off the past. You're living off the name. We're 6th and we're in the Europa League. If we go for a player like Ndombele and Spurs go for a player like Ndombele, he's going to go to Spurs unless you offer more money to Leon and more money to the player. I don't like that, but it is the case. Because we're on the way back, because we're bouncing back, and we don't have a lot to offer at the moment, you've got to overpay to bring the players in. But this mentality, we don't have to overpay, we will end up with B-Tech players, with C-list players, because the A-star players are going to be hard enough as it is. And if you're not willing to overpay, then that's going to be a problem. Please smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Recap then. Let's just blitz through what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said. In relation to Pogba and Lukaku, he said there's no bids been made for them yet. At the moment, whether they want to leave or not, as long as they're professional, that's the main thing, which they are. He didn't say that there'll be Manchester United players next season, that they want to build a team around them. There was nothing like that. My interpretation is Pogba and Lukaku are United players now. I don't necessarily think they will be at the start of the season if the clubs that want to buy them put the bids in that Manchester United want. I think they want out. He, in relation to the transfer market, we're still in business. We're still looking to do business, said Solskjaer. We're patient though, and we won't overpay, which I've had my stay on. I mean, I disagree with that. I think we have to overpay, to be honest with you, because we're trying to rebuild. He said that next season, we will have a team ready. That's a good team ready to build at Manchester United. So let's see what happens with that. De Gea is expected to sign a new contract. Mason Greenwood will play more games. Alexis Sanchez will be back fit in 3 weeks. Well, back in 3 weeks, sorry. He said we've got a lot of good players here, and I trust a lot of these players. All in all, I thought it was a good, positive interview from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I thought there was a couple of statements which I just thought were a bit ill-advised, but there you go. About the Pogba agenda, when the club have put that video out, it didn't come from the press, and obviously the comment about which we've discussed. But all in all, as a first press conference, I don't think it was as controversial as many people thought it was going to be. He's definitely kept the door open to transfers. We will do at least 2 more deals. I've always said that. With Pogba, I do think he's going to go. I think the door's been left open for him to go, actually. I mean, basically, the statement about Pogba is we've not had any bids yet, and he's professional while he's here. There's no courage or conviction in that. Same for Lukaku, which is right. I think if these players want to go, they've got to be let to go, but we've got to get the right price for them. I think everybody would agree with that. So all in all, that's your press conference recap. Give it a watch again. John Warren says Mark hates Ollie. To be honest with you, I'm just going to tell the moderators to start deleting those comments and blocking those people, because I had this last night and it's absolutely ridiculous. I backed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from day one. I wanted him to get the job. I want him to be the manager of Manchester United. There was absolutely no message, agenda or anything from me coming out anti-Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm not happy that he... To be honest with you, as I've said before, I sympathise with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because he's new into the job. He's inexperienced in the job, and he's out in Australia with half a team that wants... Well, not half a team. He's got a couple of big players who want to leave. He's not been given the players that he wants, and he's sat there having to come out saying, we're patient, we won't overpay. He needs those players now. I don't care whether he's feeding it down from the board and he's happy with the board. If you're a manager of Manchester United and you're trying to build something, you want those players that you want to be there now. They need to be here now. So I sympathise with Solskjaer. I like the way he plays football. I do agree that, you know, he could be sacked by Christmas. On the other hand, he could be here in 10 years with 3 or 4 Premier League titles. We don't know what's going to happen because there's so much uncertainty and stability, and we are in the realms of hope. We are in the realms of hope. I will not say he's going to be a success. That does not mean I'm Ollie out. I don't know whether he's going to be a success, but I firmly want him to be. He's a fan of this club, and that to me is the perfect scenario. To have somebody who loves the club as much as we do, that is the perfect scenario. I just hope it works. Pogba's gone around. Whom will the team be built around, says SR. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do, to be honest with you. Thanks everybody for watching. We will go live today if there's anything new to report. We've got Flex is obviously over in Australia. He'll be putting up his video later on around lunchtime. I'll be back at 8 o'clock tonight UK time unless anything happens during the day. Make sure you smash a like on the video. Get your comments in below. Lots to talk about. I think Pogba will leave. That's what I took from that interview today. And make sure you subscribe if you're new. Bottom right hand corner, we're on that road to 500,000 subscribers. If you are new, please do subscribe. Help us to get there. And if you have subscribed, make sure you share the video with the share button. I'll see you all soon. All in all, positive interview. We are still in the market, which is the main thing. And you know, the Pogba thing, I think it's just down to Real Madrid and Juventus to pay the money, isn't it? I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks for watching.